Welcome to Behind the Business. I'm Faheem Savja, and on every episode, we go beyond the business plans and discover the real life and untold stories of today's entrepreneurs. It's time for the people behind the business. Let's get into it. Welcome.
Yay.
Appreciate you having you on.
Yeah, of course.
Now officially in the studio with like a proper setup, as opposed to doing it in my living room.
Yeah.
With random mics that didn't really work out, and
Like, I don't know how this is going to work. Yeah, this worked out. Great.
yeah, I appreciate you being on. I'm gonna jump right into it.
Yes.
So I'm gonna give you a scenario, or put you in a scenario that you were once in.
All right.
It's graduation day at UT, and you're excited to graduate, but you have a whole life of opportunity in front of you.
Yeah.
And you decide, I'm not going to work for anyone.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my own thing and become a real estate agent.
Yeah.
What was the thought process? What were your emotions at that work?
Yeah, I mean, I love this question, honestly. So I graduated in the midst of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know what life was going to really look like in that time either. And just kind of going day by day, really. So I graduated with a speech therapy degree. I was looking into I also have I have a creative side. I was looking into I was still booking photo shoots, trying to, anything that can just keep me afloat. I was looking into UX design. I didn't really like the fact that it was consumer based.
Sure.
What does the consumer want? It was very consumer driven.
Right.
Didn't really like the idea of that, and then started exploring. My auntie called me up and she was like, I'm getting my real estate license, you should do this too.
Wow.
So I was like, and I always have wanted to invest in real estate.
Okay.
My parents, I've seen what the power of real estate, generational wealth through real estate can do.
Right.
My parents invest heavily in real estate as well, and all of my family actually does. So I knew that was something that I wanted to do later on, just
Right.
when the time was right? So I thought getting my real estate license would give me the upper hand and maybe starting the path early. And then also when I think about it now, having my real estate license and just practicing real estate at such a young age.
Right.
Really puts me above anyone else that's practicing real estate in their 50s and 60s, So most of the time, if you look at a lot of real estate agents nowadays, it's their second career or it's their part-time job or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We're very full focus, full-time, heads down in the market. So I thought it would give me the upper hand and just hustling hard and
Right.
just learning as much as possible.
It's interesting because the idea of jumping into real estate, I think, is an idea a lot of people have.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, yeah, let me get my license.
100%.
Maybe let me, do some sales here and there, and I'll do it either on the side or maybe it'll become my full-time thing. But you decided to make it full-time.
Yeah.
As opposed to doing it on the side.
Yeah.
How did you come to that decision to be like, I'm going to do this and build it on my own?
Honestly, it was I don't really have a plan B, and I don't long-term wise, I see myself being a business owner in multiple things, and I don't necessarily someone asked me the other day, do you think you'll do real estate 25 years from now? I was
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It would be cool to do it, but I also would like to have my hand, my mind and leadership and doing leadership roles and other things as well. So,
Right.
I think coming to that, I'm going to make this my one thing, and that is it.
Right.
So I'll still fit in booking photo shoots and
Right.
but that's only referral and word of mouth now. So people are hitting me up for that rather than me putting myself out for that.
Mm-hmm.
Do I miss taking photos? Of course. But I think that my mind is very focused on this and making this the only thing, and it's gonna work. And if not, then I messed up somewhere, right?
Do you think that for most entrepreneurs, sticking to one thing is the way to go? Or is it that you kind of got to play of multiple set of things at once.
Oh man. So for you, for example, from what I can see, and you can tell me differently.
Sure.
I like how you did it. Like you worked. I love the idea of doing something outside of the 9 to 5, right? That's how a lot of people start their businesses.
Right.
It's outside 9 to 5. So I think that is important. But then after a while, I think there has to be some sort of execution or some sort of plan to where this becomes your one thing.
For sure.
And you're going to like do whatever it takes. Otherwise, like that's the meaning of that's the meaning of a business owner. It's the meaning of an entrepreneur. It's like it's ride or die.
Yeah. And you've been riding or die for since you were a kid, right? Like you the entrepreneurial spirit for you started at a pretty young age, right?
Yeah. So I told you this previously too, but starting from like I remember like in school we were selling like pieces of gum or like packets of gum, or then like there also used to be like these like strings of like just like keychains and stuff like that. So like I used to sell like, or I'll start the little braid for them and then I'll sell the little strings. And then all throughout college, like I was taking photo shoots, grad shoots, and then got hit up a few times for like mitamus.
Yeah.
So like small micro events.
Yeah.
I've shot like 3 weddings now.
Nice.
So like that will always be there, right?
Right.
And I know like if I wanted to do something with that, I could.
Right. But it's like giving you this lens of like I want to be an entrepreneur because I've done it for so long.
Yes.
As opposed to like going and working for somebody in a different way.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see because I think a lot of people who are successful in entrepreneurship either are, coming at it from a lens of I want to do something different after having been, in corporate life or doing something for a while. But the true life for entrepreneurs are the ones that are selling a stick of gum.
Yeah.
in high school, and even like Mark Cuban, right? You go door to door in the beginning, and that was just like the way of life for entrepreneurs for a while. And it's cool to see that you still have that spirit and you use it every day.
Yeah, I think there's a concept of fear too with a lot of people. Fear will eat someone up very easily. And I'm a strong believer in just like ripping the Band-Aid. Like you just have to and like ripping the Band-Aid and then also like taking the first step forward, like getting yourself to the gym or at least just in the parking lot and then like walking up. Like it's like small wins, and like those will tally up to like an awesome amount of growth.
Atomic habits, right?
Yeah. Atomic habits. Exactly.
Yeah. You take one small step a day and it'll change the game much larger than what you did today, right? Down the road. It's nice to see that you apply that approach to realty as well, right?
Yeah.
I think the fear of it is really daunting for a lot of folks, to entrepreneurship in general. And it's nice to see that what you've done is like go full throttle into it, regardless of what people think about age, where you're from, your background, and that takes guts.
Yeah.
Right? Being someone who's young, it's difficult to establish credibility.
Yeah.
How have you done that? Because at some point, I think
with credibility comes confidence.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I think one thing that's difficult, and I face this a bunch in my career too, is like being the youngest person in the room.
Yeah.
And for folks to still take you seriously, regardless of your age. And for me, the way I took that was like the approach of how many recs I've had. I've done this number of deals. I've seen this number of businesses. That's why you should trust me to do X, Y, Z. And that's just in my corporate life, right? Has that worked for you?
Yeah. I mean, as of this year, yes, 100%. And inshallah, like over the next few years, like the same. But like when I was starting out, like, yes, it was very difficult.
Right.
Like, how can you like, I mean, you worked in the human it's like,
for sure.
Like, I think like it comes down to being really like who's behind you. I think me being on a team also has helped a lot, because then you can be like, if I don't know the answer, like someone behind me will know, right? So I think that helps a lot. But when there's someone, like you said, like if they're alone, or if they don't have like a team or no business partner, I think it does get a little tricky, which is funny that I'm saying this, because like when I was younger, I was like, no business partners. No, like I wasn't about it. I straight up like my dad too, like when he would open a business, and I would see like it not do well, I'd be like, yeah, we're not doing, like, I don't believe in, like, I wasn't about the idea of having like to share, or like when you don't get along with someone,
Yeah.
like that messes it, and there's no clear communication.
Right.
It gets a little tricky.
But that's different for you?
But now, yeah, it's very different.
Wow.
Because straight up, like the people, like my team is my business partner,
Mm-hmm.
and like if there's something that I don't know, they know, and if there's something that they have a question about like a transaction or about a business deal or something, like we'll be helping each other out. So like I don't take a listing at a certain price without consulting them, and they don't do the same, vice versa.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Is that because there's a sense of like shared interest in making it all work and like shared winning?
Yeah.
Or is it that, like we can use our resources together because, in your world, despite the fact that you work with a team, like this is your business. Like
Yes,
it is
exactly.
It is running a business because you're managing your own deal flow, finding
100%, yeah.
clients. So is it using them to kind of help you along the
I
way?
think both.
Okay.
Both of what you just said. I
Okay.
think using their resources, and like it is a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like in other aspects as well, like what I really strongly believe, like
Mm-hmm.
what I want. I think when it comes down to business partners too, is it's like communication is probably like the key.
For sure.
Like if we can't resolve a conflict
Mhm.
in a proper manner, like then, that's probably
Not
not
work.
it's not probably the best business
Yeah.
partnership that you should be in.
For sure. Yeah. Now that you've now been in the game for a while,
Yeah.
right? Like
3
you've seen probably difficult days. What has been the most difficult day that you've seen so far?
So as of the last few months, like I've thankfully, like business wise, have had a solid amount of transactions in 1 month. So
Right.
like being able to like handle those that are under contract, and then also those that are like still needing help and like wanting assistance, like making sure I don't drop the ball on them is probably the hardest. And then I think just with like any adult stuff, just like being able to take care of yourself, your family, your health, your
Yeah.
like being able to like make sure you eat every day, like during lunch and dinner. Like there are days where I just like I want to go home, and I like don't want to do anything, and I wish food was already done for me, but
Yeah.
that's not the case.
Right. Yeah. The amount of days that I've missed lunch thinking, wait, it's already 4, it's already
Exactly.
5.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I think it's difficult for entrepreneurs, business owners in general, to get through some of the tough times.
Yeah.
Right. And I've talked to a bunch of entrepreneurs who have often laid up in the middle of the night thinking like, am I making the right choice for myself and my family and for my career? Because a lot of people can choose to go down, a corporate stable life. Right. But the path that you've chosen is
The one difficult one.
a more difficult one. Right. But the one with potentially a lot of upside. Right. When you talk to people who are on the other side of the table or who have chosen a different path than you, but who are your equal, how does that work? Like, do you find that you can relate to them, they can relate to you? What was that?
Like for example, if I was talking to someone in corporate,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they can relate to me, and I think there may be a little bit of I can't relate to them either.
Right.
But like I can't probably relate to their daily tasks, but I can understand like what it's like working from 8 to 5 or
Right.
possibly even 8 to 9.
Mhm.
Like I get that. I think the working on the weekends, like a lot of people don't get.
Mhm.
And where agents are working on the weekends, and a lot of business owners, like I think everyone is like, if you're an entrepreneur, you're working on the weekends.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you think that like people can relate to what you're doing nowadays?
No.
Yeah.
I think it's very difficult to get people to understand.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I've learned, and it's actually what my mom has told me, is that people will not understand, and it's not for them to understand.
Yep.
That's the most important thing, in my opinion, and from what I've learned. Because while there may be another path, while there may be another route that is more stable, more, you know, more visually appealing, you know, with better titles and better offerings, benefits,
Yeah.
whatever, there will always be this, for me personally, the regret of not trying. And if I didn't try, and if I didn't go down the path of even giving it a shot, then I know that down the road I would have regretted it.
Yeah.
And I may not have regretted right away because there are nice shiny objects in front of you, right? You know, you got a promotion, so you may get a new car, you got a house because your salary increased, all these nice things would have happened, which is great. But I know that I would have always had this sense of regret, and I'm thankful for at least the opportunity to have a shot now,
Yes.
right? You've made the choice from like the very get-go
Yeah.
to be like,
Really
I want to do
grateful.
it.
Yeah, I've been really blessed, and honestly, like, I think being able to, like, I wouldn't have, it would be very different if, so I'm living with my parents, like, they're, I don't have to worry about rent. So in that sense, I'm like very grateful. Like, and when there's a day that I don't feel like cooking, right, or like making a meal of my own, like there is something in the fridge at
Yeah.
least. So like in that sense, and and I always tell like the agents in our office too, or like for people that it doesn't work out too, I think in the first few years, like it takes some sort of sacrifice
Yeah.
and some sort of like priority like straightening. Like you have to get your priorities in order.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what is it gonna take, and you're gonna have to sacrifice a little. It sucks to say, it sucks. Like I know there's a lot of like I just feel like sometimes in this generation too, and like my generation and the younger generation, that like you shouldn't have to sacrifice. Like why should you have to save?
Right.
You know? And I think that's a little bit of a wrong mindset.
Right. Do you think that the concept of becoming an entrepreneur or starting your own business, doing your thing, is like a glorified concept? I've heard this a lot. Like the glorified life of being an entrepreneur. Because in reality, from what I've heard and seen and sort of kind of lived now, it's not necessarily
No,
but it's not. There's a lot to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen, like, have you thought that folks, or have you encountered people who say, well, you could set your own hours, you could do your own.
Yeah, I can set my own hours, but I'm working till like 10 p.m. in bed,
Exactly.
And I know some people have, like, there's an Asian on our team. She's like, once I hit the bed, like once I am in the bed, she's like, there's not a lot, like there's no work near me.
Right.
And I think since I was in high school, like during homework, I'm like everything, like I'm gonna do some work until I can go to sleep, and then I'm like sending out as many tasks as much as possible,
right,
like, as late as possible.
Yeah, and it's and I would assume, tell me if I'm wrong here, is that because now is the time for you to grind, right? Like
yeah,
you have
exactly.
This amazing opportunity to put so much time and effort and your own, like, sacrifices into this to hopefully get something out of it.
Yeah, and going back to like, I think my overhead right now is small. Like I don't have to pay a mortgage. I don't have to pay rent. I'm able to save. Like I'm driving a lot. I'm driving hours, like at least 2 hours, 100 miles at least every day.
Wow. You must love your car.
Yeah, see, I'm very grateful for her for it. And, but like I'm driving at least 100 miles every day. I'm living outside of the city. I feel like I'm like my overhead right now is quite small. And I think that's why I'm able to do like, just go like right now, and then if like come 2 to 3 years from now, like that won't be the case.
Yes, yeah, may not. Yeah. Is that where FJ Hustles the handle comes from? Like you thought to go.
Yeah, I'm also kind of debating if I should change it or not. Right, but yeah, I like I said, I think it comes down to like just like hustling heads down, like figuring out like what sacrifices need to be taken, and like do it.
Yeah.
Rip the Band-Aid.
It's cool to see that you're going so full throttle into this. But there's also the aspect of your life as well, right? Your relationship, managing time with your family, even doing things that you enjoy, whether it's photography or other things. How have you been able to maintain some semblance of balance? Or is that concept doesn't exist?
No, I think it's very important for entrepreneurs to make it exist.
Okay.
So I myself have a calendar, and if I had my phone, I could show you, but it's fully time blocked out. So that's really important. I've also like, Bobber didn't have that previously. He's also an entrepreneur, and I was like, look, you need to like in order for us to also be on time, like when you give I'm also like a strong believer in like giving people your word. And so like if you tell them I'm going to be there at 5:30, like you need to equate like your driving time is going to be 30 minutes. I don't care about like it's going to be, I don't care what city you're in.
Sure. Yeah.
Really, like at minimum you should be quite equating 30 minutes, and you just like work backwards from that. I think and as our lives get more intense and more busier, it's like you have to like time block, and you have to give yourself like on Fridays, every Friday is time blocked from 6 to 10 to like white space, or I go to like, I get to hang out with friends, or I go to like religious stuff and like whatever I want. Like that's that time to do that.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of how I do that.
I think a lot of people would benefit from that.
Do you do that? Or how do you do
I live and die by my calendar.
Yeah.
And I do it the same way. But like as I've gotten older, and I'm, obviously still learning every single day, but one thing that I have realized is that the time that you spend on people, the time that you spend on things that you may have spent, time on in the past will change over time, because you're going to want to focus on the things that make you feel better, give you more like, relaxed environments back in your day. Because for example, I think in my mid-20s, I would say yes to everything. Every night going out, every birthday party, every friend hangout outside of my working hours, which was quite long at that point in time. But now I'm very selective. And I think that gives me more time in my calendar.
Yeah.
And yeah, my entrepreneurial journey is just starting, so it's only going to get busier. But I do think I want to keep that sense of like focusing on the things and the people that are very important to me.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I'll be able to also have time for myself.
Yes.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in trying to do everything, but the burnout is so real.
Yeah, I feel I relate on the not saying yes to everything. Like,
for sure.
It can get late.
It can get a lot. And honestly, I think your social battery dies a lot faster when you're older too.
Especially because I'm always on the phones too.
Of course.
Like Barbara, some days I'll go home and I'll be like, I don't feel like talking. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We can vibe. We can be in each other's energy. Like, I can't talk right now.
Do you think, Babar, your fiance, being an entrepreneur, do you think that your dad or your family having experience having their own businesses and running their own entrepreneurial journeys as well has contributed to your decision to do your own thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like I just I do feel like I'm pretty business minded compared to like any other like sectors in life. Like I think that like we're always there's opportunities to do a lot of things, but it's just important to like make sure that you're making the right move, So like Barbara's always like, oh, let's open up a coffee shop or something like that. And his family's like very business minded, and they're like they're chefs, and they're like they're itching to build the next restaurant, right? And I'm like, I think with that, you kind of have to like make a calculated move, like, okay, what are your demographics here and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I think like I told you, like my parents invest heavily in real estate too. And I remember like walking as a kid, like to the investment properties and being like, okay, this needs to be renovated so that way the next person can come in too. And, yeah, my parents have done like, I think the work ethic that our parents have taught us is like one that you can't find a lot of places.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's cool that you grew up with it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have not grown up with it and have to learn along the way. But
especially in our culture, do you think that too?
I think it depends on where you're from. I think the environment that I grew up in was very much focused on, because we struggled as parents coming to North America for the first time, we want our children to have the most stable life as possible. So that means going into professions, going into
That are
steady
stable.
incomes,
Uh,
going into a life that they didn't have.
uh,
And I think that while that is super commendable and very much understandable, there is going to be a point where folks like me will have an itch,
yeah.
right, to do something out on their own. And like you said, you have to make calculated decisions when choosing to become an entrepreneur or open up a business. But someone told me once that if you have an itch and don't scratch it, like they said, you're gonna have that regret, and it's gonna bug you down the road. This
Yeah.
itch is still gonna be there. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So for me, growing up, it was very different. It was very much professionally minded. Go become some sort of professional. But I have seen a lot of people turn. Like I have seen a lot of my friends who have decided to become entrepreneurs or doctors. Sorry, who decided to become lawyers and doctors and very, professional, steady income routes. Choose to say, well, no, there's so much upside if I do something else.
Well, sometimes I do feel like nowadays too that like kids and that are like 17, 18 years old, they're pushed to like figure out what they want to do like
So early.
yeah, and I don't know how like what needs to be done differently, but like some people go get their education, they spend like 60K for 4 years and then they like leave and they're like, yeah, that's not what I wanted to do, which is fine. Like that's
Sure.
like it's great. Like,
Yeah.
A lot of people want to be able to go. That's a great way to make connections and network and stuff like that. But like if you can take those 4 years, like if I could have taken these 4 years that I went to college and like maybe done something different, then like that could have been, I don't know where we would be today, but
Sure. Yeah.
I do think there's a lot of pressure on kids nowadays for sure.
What would you tell someone who's either a junior or senior in college, third year, fourth year, right, ready to graduate, who's having this feeling that you
Oy.
had and now you know so much more? Tell them.
I think I would try to say like follow your heart.
Mhm.
Or like, maybe step back. Like I don't know what the stigma is nowadays with like gap years and stuff like that, but like I don't think it hurts to also take a step back just for a year or maybe 2 years, like reevaluate what is your calling and then like kind of maybe go from there.
Right.
Work in different like aspects as well. So like maybe you could do like a project management or like volunteer for a camp and like some sort of like leadership opportunity, and then like try to figure out like, oh, okay, like I like doing this. What more can I do of this
Right.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There is a big stigma from what I've seen growing up, taking gap years,
Yeah.
taking time off. And I'm not sure I understand necessarily why, other than, what people will think of people who have taken gap years or whatever.
And then your circle does like, you take a gap year and then your friends are 1 year
Right.
graduated and you're still there, right? So it is a little difficult in that sense, I bet.
Yeah, I have seen people who have taken that break and come back to whether it's school or going back to work a lot better, like a lot more mature in their thought process. So it does work, in my opinion. But yeah, that stigma is still there. One thing that has helped me in deciding to either become an entrepreneur or even in the ability to say I have something to offer is some form of technical knowledge, right? The beauty about what you're doing is that you've grown up with the concept of real estate investments in businesses. And for someone like me who hasn't, right, that time for me to build technical knowledge was my time working in banking. And that was super, super helpful.
Yeah.
And speaking to other
Yes.
entrepreneurs and bringing something to the table. Do you find that like you can attribute your success to, that knowledge you grew up with having?
Yes and no. I think in that sense, like I can say like I do and can see the wealth of the generational wealth through real estate. So like in that sense I can see, but like I think the technical knowledge part of real estate is very experience based.
Okay.
So experience based, which is why earlier you mentioned like, so many people want to like get into real estate. The cost of getting into real estate is low, I think, like, or at least getting your license. Like that the barrier cost is very low, so anyone can get their license, honestly. But I think like the technical knowledge part is very experience based.
Right.
So like I can say, oh yeah, I've done 12 deals in a year and I can help you sell your house,
Yeah.
like, and net you the most amount of money, right? So, but I think like if there was a real estate degree that I could have done, I would have 100%
For
done
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Or like maybe like, I don't know, property investing, or like I know there are people that have kind of done like finance backgrounds and have gone into like the commercial investing
Sure.
sector. And I think that sounds kind of cool to me.
Right.
But yeah, there.
I think a lot of people, you mentioned a lot of people decide to just jump into realty and get their license.
Yeah.
I think there's a period during the pandemic, maybe a little bit after the pandemic, where a lot of people made that decision.
100%. And now you're seeing the fall in agents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's a big fall now?
So many reasons. One, just because like a lot of people I think were bored and everyone was getting their license. And then two, like now the market has shifted a lot. So like it's very hard for you, like, and the rates were lower then. So like anyone could go under contract with any agent and they could make a few thousand. But now it's people, like I've also heard a lot of scary stories during the pandemic actually, where like their agent took advantage of them. And so like it's really important to like work with someone that won't take advantage of you. And also it's like one of the most important, biggest purchases and emotional purchases of your life. Like so like being able to work with someone that's educated on that and like being able to help you walk your hand like through this is what we've gone through, Ernest, this, now we're going through the option period, your appraisal is done, all of that stuff. So I think that like being able to work with someone that's an expert in these areas is really important.
Do you think that your ability to stick through those tough times in the pandemic and during points where you're learning has now proved to be super successsul for you? Like now you're clearly doing a lot more than you did when you started.
Yeah.
Like what does that success look like for you now?
So I called a cold call. We cold call every Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 12.
Wow.
So I was cold calling a lady that was looking to move back home. Her parents are in Ohio, I believe. And so she's been in Austin for 10 plus years, and she wants to move back home closer to her parents. Her parents are getting older. So she listed her house with an agent that I guess he was a commercial agent, or maybe he wasn't as involved.
Sure.
Someone, from what it seems like, is in her circle. Didn't go well, overpriced it by, sheesh, I don't know, like 75,000.
Oh God.
And was on market for about 80 days with that agent. I called her. I was like, hey, I saw came off market, withdrawn off market. I was curious what your plans are. And she was like, yeah, it came off market, but I am looking to get it back on market. I was like, okay, awesome. When's a good time for us to meet? So ran the numbers, talked to her. She met with her on, I believe, a Friday or Saturday, and she really liked what we had to share. We upgraded her floors before going to market. We upgraded her floors, and then we changed out the light fixtures.
Okay.
Priced it to market, so it came back to market at 330. Mm-hmm. Within the first weekend of being on market, we got an offer above ask, and then we did the inspection, came back, and they were trying to negotiate below asking, and we sold on asking at 330. So we sold her house within 5 days of being on market.
Wow. And it's not someone you knew, like
no, cold call, random lady. That's what I'm like. This is awesome. Like I helped someone that's able to go back to her family. Mm-hmm. And she's been trying to get back there for months now, since probably June. And so she's been disserviced basically from another agent. And I think that's where the decline is, because people aren't able to service them at a high level.
Right. I think people forget that whether it's realty or whether it's, some form of service, consulting, whatever it is, at the end of the day, it's about people.
Yeah.
It's about you being able to help someone.
Yeah.
whether it's helping them in their business, whether it's helping them in their, their aims to sell their house and move somewhere else.
It's sad because I think just people can be taken advantage of so easily. I've been taken advantage of by like vendors. Like I've called someone and like they have just upcharged me tremendously, and then I called a second opinion and they were like, no, you were screwed over. And I was like, damn, like
Yeah.
and it's very hard, I think, nowadays, which sucks. It's just it's hard to find trusted people.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
but that's where the beauty of us come in,
For sure. Yeah, 100%. And I think the sooner you in your own business, or the sooner in your like career figure out that it's always been and always will be about service to people,
yeah.
the more success you'll have faster,
Yeah.
generally, from
Yeah.
what I've seen. And the really nice thing about what you do is that you're actually impacting people's lives. Like, this is so important. I mean, we've worked together, right? Like, we made the biggest decision of our life and you were there for it, right? And I would imagine that's probably the fun part about your job too,
Yeah.
right? Like, you get to see right away the impact of your work.
You and Farah, like moving here and like being able to like watch y'all settle into Austin is like one of the happiest things.
Oh, way.
Yeah, honestly, like it's like really like satisfying, like being able to like watch y'all grow and like be able to like settle into the city. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's a great feeling.
Well, it's easy when you work with great people
Yeah.
like you. So
Appreciate
so,
it. Honored to say the least.
Well, I gotta ask you though. So that person that we talked about back in college who's about
Yes.
to graduate, if you were to talk to her now on graduation
Hey
day,
man.
what would you say?
You're doing great.
I love it.
Just helping people, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm good.
Okay. You sure?
Yep.
I think the benefits and like the ability to do your own thing, make choices, come back, and even, think about where you were at college has a lot to do with your support system.
I agree.
Whether it's, your fiance, whether it's your family, can you speak to how that's helped you?
Oi, it's helped me tremendously. Like, I think again, like, I cannot say this enough. I've been blessed, like, being able to be under my parents' house. And Barbara, like, I mean, me and Barbara, this, like, we're getting married next year, and being able to, like, just save as much as possible to figure out our next move, like, that I think is like an opportunity not a lot of people have. So like it would be 100% different. Like this, like I'm fully aware that like I don't know where I would be like if I was doing this in Houston.
Sure.
Like I wouldn't have, like I'm able to save quite a few $1,000s, like being able to like live with my parents, and then also like living with my parents also is not like a time that I take for granted either. Like I'm grateful that I can, as they're getting older and as I'm about to depart the house, like I think I'm also like cherishing the time that I get to spend with my mom. Barbara has played an enormous support role in this, and like letting me work till like 10 p.m. at night, or not letting me, but being mindful of like, she's hustling and, like letting her get her bag. And
Of course.
and then I think the team has also been really supportive in that sense as well. Is just like, how can we support you? What resources do you need? Like, so stuff like that. Yeah, has been, I think, blessed is an understatement, probably.
Yeah, I love it.
What about you?
Um,
How's like the support system like played a part in like, I guess as you make this transition, and then also like what did it look like, when you were in corporate as you like before?
So I think you're right. I mean, like, shout goes to my parents and Farah, of course, for being there to support throughout the entire process. But it did change when you were living the life that everyone around you was also living. So, for example, when I, was in corporate and really enjoyed it and was learning so much so quickly, the people that supported me were a lot of my peers who were going through the same process.
Yeah.
And we were doing it together. We were having traumatic experiences together, and we were having like the triumphs together as well, right? Whether it's promotions, whether it's a deal closing, whatever it was. But that support system has evolved over time. And those people that I relied on are still there. Like, they're still close friends of mine, and I really, value their friendship even to this day, of course. But I find that the entrepreneurial route is more lonely, right? And the circle that you rely on is for support is tighter. You rely more on your spouse. You rely more on your parents, your family, because they're the rock that holds you grounded, right? The rock that'll support you throughout it. Now that the other folks, though, the other people around you are there to actually build you up, though. And I think that's what I'm learning throughout this journey, is that while I have my base, my support, the people that will always be there for me, there are also other people that'll help me build a business and get to a point that I want to be down the road. And it's difficult because I am someone who I think who overthinks, and most people, whether it's entrepreneurial or not, also think a lot about their decisions. But it's good to rely on and speak to people who have done it before. Yeah. So my circle has become tighter from who's really supported me from my core, but the people who are around me to help me get to where I want to go, that group has expanded.
Are the people that you used to mentor with and when you were in corporate, have they taken a similar path as you?
Not many. I think there are a lot of folks who have bounced around in between corporate life, and they've done really well for themselves. But not a lot of people that I know from that world have jumped and done their own thing. I think there are a lot of people that want to do it. Yeah. And it was a big reason why I want to do this podcast, to inspire those people. Yeah. But not a lot of people have said, I'm going to cold turkey do something else. Yeah.
Ripping the Band-Aid, Faheem.
You got to rip the Band-Aid. Dude, thank you so much for coming on Behind the Business. I hope you had a great time.
Wonderful.
And I really hope that folks have taken a lot from this, whether you're trying to start your own entrepreneurial journey or whether you're just thinking about making that step. I appreciate you being here along the journey. My name is Faheem Savja from Behind the Business.
My name is Fatima. Nice to meet you guys.
And we hope to see you on the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Behind the Business. I hope today's story left you a little inspired and maybe one step closer to your own entrepreneurial dreams. Behind every business, there's a person with a vision and a story worth telling. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who may need a little inspiration too. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep building, and keep listening. This is Faheem Savja, signing off from Behind the Business.